glad you brought the shrimp.
That's very good.
It's a good appetizer.
Good job, Derek.
Derek wraps everything in bacon.
Hey, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever.
But you did the asparagus, right? And then you wrapped them in bacon.
Like I said, we don't have a lot in our arsenal, but bacon is definitely a
Hey,
staple.
you cannot go wrong with that.
Good.
So
We're not very creative, but
you got the fennel, and about the juice from about a third to a half cup juice from 2 lemons, and some olive oil, probably about around the same amount.
And by the way, Dan learned something. These things are called mise en place. Mise en place bowls. Mise en place is an art term where you put
Everything in place.
everything in place.
Right,
So
okay.
you have all your stuff.
Okay.
You know.
Don't worry about it.
Right, so on television when they just, they have everything measured
Right,
out.
so you don't sit there while they measure everything out. It's like,
Right. So we've got like tons of these mise en place bowls. So that now I don't use them. I'm using them today because I'm going to be showing stuff. But Richard uses them because he actually measures things out, and I do not.
Well,
so,
and the other-
but I will do that today.
and the other thing to keep in
Cooking
mind
impaired, I
is
have to measure.
when you make a recipe, you got to read it all the way through first, because it might say, okay, now after you put something in the oven, take the butter that's been softening for the past 2 hours, or take your cranberries that you soaked overnight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh shit, and you make do. But it's things like that, is that if you read everything through and have everything prepared ahead of time, you're positive that you have all the different things that you need.
Well, sometimes too, you have a recipe where you have to divide something. Like you only use half the butter in the first part, and then,
Yeah.
and so it's like, oh God, I put all the butter
Right,
in.
right.
So-
Heather Conkin had a great story about her first dinner that she made for Tim, and it was a Paula Deen recipe where she's read the thing, and then it says season with the seasoning mix, right? And the recipe for the seasoning mix is below. So she does it, makes the seasoning mix, and the minute she told me that, I was like, I know what you did.
She put in the whole
She put
seasoning
in
mix.
the whole seasoning mix.
Yeah, and then
And it was like-
later on in the recipe, it was like,
Use
two
half-
tablespoons. Yeah. Yeah.
I've done that
And so Tim is trying to like eat it, and it's not happening.
So like a package of dill. I just chopped that all up. It's about a quarter cup to half a cup. I mean, I'll post the actual recipe, but one of the things is the more that you cook, and I don't know if we were going to talk about that at all or whatever, but the more you cook, you get an idea of what. Is that the ice?
No, that's
No, that's
the turtle. That's the turtle.
Can't wait for some salad. Well, he thinks he can get through the rocks to the female turtle below, but
You figure out what flavors go with what flavors, and in baking, unless you're really good at baking is more like chemistry. You got to put the right amount of things together, or it's going to turn out too flat or too thick or whatever. If I put in an extra, half cup of dill, I mean, half a cup's kind of a lot, but if you put
yeah, that would be.
a couple extra
very dilly.
tablespoons, tablespoons of dill.
Yeah, my mom would do that. She puts dill on everything.
Yeah, Lena's mom, dill and cilantro in everything.
I'm
Your
like-
eggs gonna have
Oh
to.
yeah, oh yeah.
It's like, do you want eggs with your cilantro on it? It's too much.
So you kind of learn about how much you want to put in it.
That's a little bit fuzzy from the fennel.
Yeah, that's a little fuzzy from the fennel. I gotta check the recipe.
Uh-oh, cheating.
It looks like you could put cucumbers in there too.
Well, you actually, the full recipe for this has arugula and zucchini in it.
Sign me up.
Would you like some lettuce? No? Okay.
I mean, I made a different slaw. This is just happens to be the recipe that I pulled up, but I made it without it before. Also some pine nuts. I don't know if you got a fistful of pine
How
nuts
did you
to
know
throw in
about
there.
pine nuts?
They were like $10 for a
have
little package or
almonds.
whatever. So almonds would be fine. You could put in some almonds
Sliced
too.
almonds.
Little slivered almonds. A little bit of salt.
Do you
And-
sliver your own almonds, or you just go ahead and buy them?
I just buy. If I need nuts.
Sweetie,
Except-
the dogs are fighting.
What do you want me to do with it?
Well, just go out there and stop them. Step in between
They're
them, please.
playing.
No, they're fighting.
As long as I had a vet tell me one time, as long as you don't see clumps of hair coming out, then they're okay.
Yeah, when we come home,
That's a lot of salt.
all right.
Okay. Hey, how you doing?
We come home
They're
with
not
clumps of
bargaining, but
hair.
they knew we were in here. It's just the initial thing.
Ah, baby.
So that's basically it. And,
Go on.
you know, just
Go on.
I haven't washed my hands.
You want to get a real fork? That's probably.
This is probably gonna break. Yes.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna smell me like crazy. 'Cause
Okay,
you
so
smell
I'm sorry,
too.
what all did you put in there?
I just added some more salt or
Okay.
some salt.
Okay, so lemon juice, salt.
Lemon juice,
and-
salt, olive oil, dill.
Okay. Did you put some honey in it? or
You can put honey, you can pine nuts, almonds.
Okay, let me see.
It calls for sugar or honey.
We can put a little honey in it.
Yay, we have. Yay, almonds.
Make sure they're still good.
There should be good. These are like seriously.
Do they mold or something if they're bad?
No.
They,
No,
they go
no,
rancid.
Well,
They go a little
adding
bit
the
rancid.
texture will change also
Oh.
a bit, the little chewy and.
These are awful. These are great. Wonderful.
That's great. They're already sliced too. Do you want to put a little honey in there?
these are good.
Sweeten it?
Well, I'm gonna taste it in a second. Because that's another thing is, while you're cooking, taste things.
Taste it.
While you're cooking it. Don't wait till the end when you're putting it on the table. And then, everyone can always add a little bit more salt and pepper. Fine.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's say you're cooking up something, you taste it while you're cooking, and you realize you've added too much salt.
It depends on what it is. If it's a stock pot, you pour off part of the stock,
Yes.
you add more water.
Okay.
And then you can cook the rest of it in a different pot and you increase your volume.
Okay.
Or you can take you could take the rest of that stock, you could boil it down, and you can make it like you know how you have those concentrated bouillon cubes?
Right, right.
You don't need to use it anymore. You boil that down until the volume's reduced, till it's just kind of a pretty salty, very concentrated. You pour that into an ice cube tray, stick it in your freezer. When you're making vegetables, say you're making some green beans or something, you want to enhance the flavor, take one of your concentrated stock ice cubes, throw it in the pan.
Okay.
So that's my stuff.
But if it's something dry,
If it's something dry, you're a little out of.
Let's say something like this. Let's say you put too much salt in something like this.
I
You
would,
can't.
hope you have
I would
another
put something
funnel.
sweet in it.
Yes.
Okay.
I would put something sweet to count.
You would add if
Okay.
too much salt, and if anybody feels there's too much salt. I don't think you can have a taste or something. It's actually maybe a little bit on the heavy on the lemon side. You probably put a little olive oil, more olive oil in it. An acid balances a vinegar, and a sweet balances a salt.
Okay.
Right, and so, one of the things you gotta remember though, is when you're putting salt in it, if you put an acid or wine or something like that, it's gonna enhance the flavor of the
Nah.
salt. It's gonna increase the flavor of the salt.
So if you say that again,
If you have something that has wine or vinegar in it,
Okay.
it increases the taste of the salt. For
Okay.
example, if I'm making a stew, beef bourguignon, with the wine and beef salt, beef, and I'm using a half a bottle of wine, I would not put that much salt in it.
Okay.
I wouldn't put, the only thing I would do, I would season my meat as I'm browning it, and then I would put my unsalted beef stock, a half bottle of wine, whatever, let it reduce some, then taste it, and then
then-
add more salt if you need it.
Okay.
Because if you add too
Sister.
much, then then you're diluting the concentration of the good flavor by adding more water.
okay.
So it makes things taste just kind of boiled rather
Okay.
than braised.
Okay. Right.
Alright.
Well, this is mine, and this is for Richard.
Again.
If he wants to eat
Thank
some
you.
fennel.
So I'm gonna start off with the beef tenderloin
Do you want me to put down the table?
first, and then I'll